We're learning Perek Beis Halacha Yotes. The Rambam starts off Hamafrish B'Yam. Somebody goes off on a sea journey. Vayoytze b'shayoro. He goes on a caravan. We go to the Peirush HaMeir B'Yam to go to the other side of the ocean, where he goes with a caravan. Rabbeinu Manoach explains he's going to distant land through the desert. It's called a shiur because you can only go with other people as well. With Toich Shloshim Yom, within 30 days of Pesach, Zokuk, he needs Livdoik to check his house, Kodim Shloshim Yom, before he leaves, rather, within 30 days. Kodim Shloshim Yom, before 30 days, Ein Zor Livdoik, he does not have to check. V'im, if he goes up before 30 days, Daitu Lachser Kodim HaPesach, if he has in mind to come back before Pesach, even though it's before 30 days, Zor Livdoik, he has to check for Chametz. Then he can go Shema lest Yachser of Pesach. He'll come back Erev Pesach. Bein Hashmosh is when it's too late to check already. He won't be able to burn it, and he'll be over on having chametz in his rishus. But if he does not intend to come back and he will left before 30 days, he does not have to check. Rabbeinu Manoach points out that this was already explained, that before 30 days he doesn't have to be voidik, and he explains that the Rambam re-emphasizes it, that even though it's 30 days, he doesn't have to check. When he wants to come back, he does have to check. Somebody who makes his house a warehouse, meaning he closes it, not to open it, only to put into it wheat, for example. Within 30 days before the Yom Pesach, he has to check it before he puts the stuff in. Then he can fill it. Before 30 days. If he plans to empty it of the wheat, if he plans to empty it before the Chag Tzor, he has to check it. And if he doesn't think of checking it before emptying it before Pesach, he does not have to check it because there's no chiyuv yet. It's more than 30 days before. The Magen Mishnah cites the source as Psochim 6a. Omar Rav says if you go out and to sea or you leave in a caravan before 30 days, you do not have to be mevayer to check and get rid of the chametz. Within 30 days, you have to do so. And then Rava says, before 30 days, he doesn't have to burn it, only when he doesn't think about coming back. When he's thinking of coming back, he has to burn it. And Rava goes according to his reasoning. He says, whoever makes his house an oitza before 30 days, he does not have to check it. Within 30 days, he does have to check it. And the words of the Rambam are found in the Rif. The Magen Mishnah says, Peirush HaMeir daitoi lachzer. And the Rambam explains he plans to come back before Pesach. And he says the same understanding is with regard to a warehouse. He wants to empty out before Pesach. Certainly, when he wants to come back or to empty it on Pesach, it needs bedika. And we'll go to the next page. But certainly, if his thought is to do it before Pesach, we don't say when he comes back or when he empties it, he should destroy it. But right now, he has to be voidik lest he come back Erev Pesach at a point in time when he will not be able to check anymore. The Gemara in 6a learns from Moshe Rabbeinu that you have to have in mind the halachas and learn them before Pesach 30 days, because we find Pesach Sheni mentioned by Pesach Rishon, and he told Klal Yisrael that those who cannot bring the Pesach Rishon should bring Pesach Sheni, which is 30 days after Pesach Rishon, and therefore everything has to do with 30 days specifically. And the 30 days begin 30 days before Pesach, even for those who leave overseas or in a caravan. When does he plan to return? Rashi explains he wants to come back on Pesach, meaning in the midst of Pesach. And the Rambam explains that he wants to come back before Pesach. That's when he has to check it. So the Lechem Mishnah already asked the question, who forced the Rambam to explain he's coming back before Pesach? Maybe if he's kind of thinking of coming back before Pesach, he's not obligated to check it because he can do so when he comes back. And he asks on Rashi, what is the svara according to Rashi of Abaye, who says that if he intends to come back, he has to check it. Rava's question remains, even if he goes before Rosh Hashanah, if he's planning to come back on Pesach, he should have to check it because he knows he's coming back to the house that has Chametz. But according to the Rambam, it could be that Abaye is talking about that since he's coming back before Pesach, that's why you don't have to worry about it. He'll check it then. It's only if he goes away within 30 days, he's obligated to do so, even if he's going to come back before Pesach, because he's already obligated. And Rava asked the question, maybe a person that makes plans, but things don't go according to plans, they'll come back too late. And the Rambam paskins like Rava, that even if he plans to come before Pesach, one has to check, lest he come back too late, and he will not have a chance to check before Pesach. Yeah. Rambam continues, if he makes his house a warehouse more than 30 days before Pesach, if he's going to empty it before Pesach, he has to check it, otherwise, and then only can he make it a warehouse. The Kesef Mishnah asks a question. It's very distant the thought that he'll empty his warehouse erev Pesach, and he'll only finish it on the night of Pesach. It's different than coming back when you don't know if the plane is going to arrive, the ship is going to arrive, the caravan will arrive, but here he knows how long it's going to take him. So why should we worry about it? And he explains that maybe he will not be able to finish, he'll get a cold, and he'll leave chametz covered with less than 3 tefachim. And since he doesn't know that there's chametz there, he will not take it to heart. And therefore, before he puts it in, he has to check for chametz. But chametz, which is covered with 3 tefachim of something else, it is no chiyuv to be boidik. And Rashi says this also in 6a. Somebody makes his house a warehouse. That Rashi explains that he put the wheat in, and underneath it the chametz. We'll go to the next page, which has the same rule as chametz on which a wall collapsed. In Psochim Ches 8a, that the din is we view it as being burnt or not accessible or no longer usable. But to begin with, that's not the way you do it. Therefore, if it happened within 30 days before Pesach, you can't rely on it. That he'll fill his house and the chametz will be considered burnt. However, if it's before 30 days, we can rely that when the time that he's not thinking about chametz because he's not obligated to yet. He's not obligated to think about it before 30 days. The Bach cites that in the Hagoyes, the textual corrections to Sefer Mitzvahs HaKotan, he brings a proof to Rashi that Divrei HaGemorah, the language of the Gemorah is, even if somebody goes out before 30 days, if he intends to come back, he has to be boidik. It's talking about where he wants to come back to his home on Pesach. From that the Gemorah says that oitzer, that he intends to empty it, he has to check it right away. And it can't be explained that he's going to empty it come back before Pesach, that there's no reason to assume that he won't empty it. Gemara says Rava goes according to his logic with regard to caravan and going out with a ship, which means that reasoning is only possible regarding those two dinim. But when he with a otzer, with a warehouse, in order to empty it, certainly when he want to empty it before Pesach, we don't have to worry that he won't give himself enough time, and he'll end up without a time to check it. And from the fact that by Oitza Tvua he has to check it, that proves according to the Rishonim, that Peirush HaMeir, somebody goes out to the ocean or with a caravan needs to check, is talking when he's coming back on Pesach. If he would come back before Pesach, then he would be able to check it before Pesach, and we don't require him to do so before, if he's coming back only because he's coming back on Pesach. But according to the Rambam, that even if he's thinking of coming back before Pesach, you have to check it because we're fearful that it'll come back too late. You won't have a chance to check it before Pesach, or the onset of Pesach. We see that same question should be with a house that's being changed into a warehouse. If he's planning to do it before Pesach, he needs to check it right away because we're afraid something will happen to not enable him to finish his job. And he cites that this logic is quite questionable. Why you should think that for a warehouse is insane. So the Bach says that even according to Beis Yosef, that by a warehouse of wheat, we're afraid that you will not empty it in time, and the chametz will be covered. And since he doesn't know for sure it's there, he will not go and work to take it out. And according to that answer, the only thing that we're worried about is when he doesn't know for sure that there's chametz. If a person would know for sure that he has chametz inside, we know for sure that he'll go in, even if it's covered, he'll take it out. So he asks, if that's the case, why doesn't the Rambam make this differentiation that when the warehouse has chametz for sure, then he has to go ahead and take it out before Pesach, but otherwise not. Therefore, the Bach says that the Rambam is of the opinion that you worry about an oitzer that it'll come before Pesach too late, even though it's a very distant likelihood, and it will come out that he will have some impediment to his being able to empty the warehouse. Maybe he'll get sick or something like that. In the Yerushalmi, Sochim, Perek Aleph Halacha Aleph, we have a text ubesofik. That's only when he doesn't know that there's definite chometz. But if there's definite chometz, afilu merosh shona. The Ran explains that the Yerushalmi wants to tell us that the 30-day period is only talking about when we don't know for sure. But if there's chometz there, then that does not apply. Anytime he leaves, he has to make sure that there's no chometz, that when he comes back for Pesach, he will not have a problem of chometz. The Bach adds that the Ran's proof from the wording is not very strong, and the words of the Yerushalmi are quite clear. The chometz that it needs to be burnt, if you know for sure there's chometz, you have to take care of it even from the beginning of the year. And it could be that the Bavli doesn't disagree on that. The Bavli only writes Levaya because he calls Bedika Biur. And he means Bediko, it doesn't mean the beginning of Biur. Therefore, you make a brocha on Biur Chometz even though you're just starting to check, because checking is part of Biur. Also from the Rambam, Bayasin, by the Smag, and by the Smak, and Rabbeinu Yerucham, all of them say Bediko. It means Levire. The purpose of the checking is to get rid of the chometz, to destroy it, and therefore the biur that's mentioned in the Bavli, it means bedika, and therefore we can't differentiate between bedika and biur. We should point out that the Rambam changes his language from the Bavli to levire, which means destroying even chometz that's known. Because the Bavli is only talking about where it's known. But the Rambam says Zokuk Livdoik, or Einatzor Livdoik, so he must be talking about when he's not sure he has chometz, because if he has chometz, he definitely has to check. It must be because the Rambam is of the opinion like the Yerushalmi, that only Meisovek chometz, he does not have to check when he goes out for the way more than 30 days before, and he does not have intention to come back. But by if he certainly has chometz, then he has to get rid of it even before 30 days. Thus, according to the Rambam, there's no machlokes between the Bavli and Yerushalmi according to the Bach. Rabbeinu Manoach points out that his father explained to Yerushalmi, like the Ran, that Sofek and Vadai is talking about Chometz. But he himself says that the Rambam learns Hani Mili B'Sofek, that's talking about on somebody who goes out on a shiur, he's not sure if he'll come back, and therefore he doesn't have to check it. But the Vadai, when he knows he's coming back, and he knows he has chometz, or he knows he might have chometz, he has to check it, and that's why he puts the words in. If the Rambam puts in the words, if his intention, if his understanding is to return before Pesach, he has to be mevaya, which we said was to check. Therefore, the Rambam writes within 30 days he has to check it, and he changed the Lashon Gemara, he has to destroy it, because he holds like the Yerushalmi. And whereas according to the Bach, the Rambam paskins according to the Bavli, because they don't disagree, because what the word levire in the Bavli means to check, as is found in Yerushalmi. The Gra infers from the language Ein Tzor Livdoik before 30 days, only when he does not intend to return, only by Sofik Chometz, like the Yerushalmi. But if he has certain Chometz, definite Chometz in the place, even Rosh Hashanah, he has to check it and get rid of it. And he says that the Bavli disagrees, and that the Tur and other poskim say that even bevadei chometz, you do not have to destroy if you go before 30 days, if he does not intend to come back for Pesach. And he concludes that the derech of the Rambam is to go according to the Yerushalmi in many places, and therefore he passes like the Yerushalmi neged Bavli, which is something unusual for most poskim, that the Rambam passes like the Yerushalmi even when the Bavli differs. And he says the Rekolboy also agrees with the Rambam. The Smag and the Smak also agree with the Rambam. Thus we find that the Ran learns in the Yerushalmi not like the Rambam. And the Gro brings the Yerushalmi like the source of the Rambam. So there's two machlokes and two different questions. One, the Rambam writes that before 30 days, you don't have to be goydik by Sofik Chometz. But if you have definite Chometz in the place, you have to check it even before 30 days, and it doesn't help that he's going before 30 days and he does not intend to return. According to Rashi and the other Rishonim, even by the definitive Chometz, he does not have to destroy it if he goes before 30 days, as long as he does not intend to come back. There were Rishonim that learn only if he intends to come back on Pesach, does he have to check before 30 days. But if he's coming back before Pesach, he does not have to check now, because when Erev Pesach will come, he'll check it when on his return. And the Rambam is of the opinion that even if he expects to come back before Pesach, he has to check it when he's leaving, lest he have some hindrance, and he'll come back to his house Erev Pesach before nightfall, and he will not have had a chance to check. Rabbeinu Manoach has a question regarding do you make a bracha on this early check? Rabbeinu Manoach says both those that go out before 30 days, even if he does not intend to return, within 30 days, even if he doesn't intend to return, or before 30 days and he has intention to return, you have to make a bracha on the bedika, even though you're very distant from Pesach, because the Chacham said to do it. And he brings down the Rav Acho, and the Shiltis, and the Raivet, that even though we say before 30 days he doesn't have to do bedika, when he doesn't have intent to return, but once the time of Bidul comes along, he has to nullify it. Because the Torah says, Tashbizu Sorim B'Techem. And that means get rid of So'er, and there's a few ways to do it. But if you're in a distant country, if you're Mavatal, if you nullify it, you make the Brocha on Bitul Chometz. But only when you have certainly have Chometz in the house. But when you're in doubt if you have Chometz in that, so then you can't make a Brocha. Hagos Maimonides says that you have to be mevatel anyway. As soon as you come to the time of the chiv of bittul, whether he went out by sea or he changes his house to a warehouse for Truma, and even more than 30 days, because if he will not be mevatel, he'll be over b'bal yatmin, meaning that he's covering something which he's obligated to destroy on Pesach. But he doesn't mention whether or not you make a bracha on that type of a bittul, on the words you're going to say to you make a bracha. The Torah states, somebody goes out on the way more than 30 days before Pesach. He does not intend to return. He does not have to burn it. But when Pesach comes, he should nullify it in his heart. And he brings that the manik in Hilchos Pesach Siman Yud Ches, if he knows sheyesh lo chometz yivorech al bitul chometz, he should make a bracha. If he knows he has chometz, he has to make a bracha on bitul chometz. If not, he doesn't have to. But the Torah himself is of the opinion that even if he knows he has chometz on base, so he doesn't make a bracha because bitul is in his heart. And the bracha that you make is for checking, and that's why you make a bracha on the night, but not when you're just nullifying. And we don't find a bracha on thought. We are noying to say kol chamira. This is not something that Chacham instituted. You should say it anyway. But it's a minig that Klal Yisrael does to make sure that they think about it in their heart. The Ran brings down it's enough to nullify it in your heart. There are those who explain he has to say it with his mouth, but he doesn't have to have his ears hear it. And since he says it with his mouth, there's a place to say that that's called an action, which requires a bracha. The Bach says la halacha, you should not make a bracha, since it's a disagreement among Rishonim. And when we endow Sofik brachos lohokol, what's the halacha l'maisa? The Shulchan Aruch paskins in Tuf Lamed Vov. Somebody goes out to sea or in a caravan, and he doesn't leave in his house, who should check it? Then, if it's within 30 days, he has to check. The Mishnah Berurah adds, even if he will not return, we'll return the page, until after Pesach, since within 30 days he already has an obligation to check. And he adds that he has to check only by night before he goes out, and he has to do it by candle. And he has to be mevatel the chometz that he didn't see, just as he does chometz on Leil Yudalad after B'dika, even though he hasn't seen it, he nullifies it. But Mishnah Berurah says that that's only when he didn't tell somebody else in the house to check for him. So the Rambam says, when he goes out prior to the 14th night of Nisan, he does not make a bracha on biur chometz. Not like Rabbeinu Manoach, who says you should, since he's mevatel and checking, he should make a bracha. The Mishnah Berurah explains that only on Leil Yudala they made the bracha, and therefore before that there's no bracha that was enacted, and therefore you can't make a bracha. The Biur Halacha brings down that the Lavush, this is also the understanding of the Lavush, but the Bach, as we learned before, says that if it's within 30 days, he has to make a bracha. Only prior to 30 days, if his intention is to come back, he doesn't have to make a bracha. But the Pri Chodesh says the Olam, you have to make a bracha, because the Chacham told him, if they told you have to check, you have to make a bracha. But he too cites that from the Divrei Morgan Avram and Ataz and the other Achronim would seem that they are of the opinion that you do not make a bracha. That's the way the world does it. They do not make a bracha. The Machaber continues. If he goes out to sea or on his way more than 30 days, he doesn't have to be boidik. When Pesach comes, wherever he is, he can nullify the chometz, his chometz. The Mishnah Berurah adds that even though he doesn't see the chometz, still, if he doesn't nullify it, even though it says you shouldn't see chometz, it doesn't mean specifically see, it means you shouldn't have it. He's over on hiding chometz because it's hidden from him. He obviously can't reach it from where he is. The Machaber continues. If his intention is to come back before Pesach, he has to check it and then go. because we're afraid maybe it'll come too late on Erev Pesach and he won't have the time to check and destroy, just like the Rambam says. The Mishnah Berurah says that this is only within 30 days he has to check when he goes out with a caravan to a distant place. And even if he's expecting to come back long time before Pesach, we're afraid something might come up. But if it's a nearby trip, even within 30 days, we're not afraid. That's why people who travel back and forth today to America don't have to check before they leave if they know they're coming back, because it depends whether you can rely on the times that you have or not. Mishnah Berurah is of the opinion you have to check and see how the world exists at that time, because there are people who leave within 30 days to a distant place, do not have to check any longer, because they'll get back to their house before Pesach and they'll do it on the night of the 14th. The Machaber continues. If he makes his house a warehouse within 30 days, he has to check it, and then he puts it. Only then can he fill it with wares. Before 30 days, if he plans to leave it closed, not unloaded, then he doesn't have to check it. But if he plans to unload it before Pesach, he does have to check it. Mishnah Berurah adds in the name of Magen Avraham, this is only Bechometz which you do not know for sure is there. The Bechometz that's known, even if you leave before 30 days and you're not going to empty it, you have to remove it. And there are those who are lenient, even Bechometz Yadua, as he brings down when he go out, if he's not going to come back on Pesach, because Chometz Yadua, there are those who say you have to check it. Those who say you don't have to remove it. And since there are those who say you don't have to remove it, there is that lenient thought that you do not have to remove it. And we'll learn Hilchos Chametz U'Matzah, which deals with Dinei B'dikas Chometz, has 11 halachas in the next shiur.